Hare Krishna. Welcome to Krishna Book Part 3, class number 12. We're getting near the end. We'll start with some kirtan.
It's Tracy's favorite, but she might miss it. Okay, heart bowl, sweet souls, welcome, welcome. So wonderful to be with you. Let's take a clearing breath to start. Inhale, sip the breath in through your nose, fill, fill, fill. Open your mouth, exhale, let it go. Let's do that one more time. Inhale, sip it in, sip it in, sip it in. Open your mouth, exhale, let it go, let it go, let it go. And our opening prayers, this invocation honoring, glorifying, appreciating all of our teachers, this lineage. The mood of humility and receptivity, we call out. We open our minds and hearts. Breath in. Om Jnanatimandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshunathamyena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama. Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Bhagavan ki. Shri Shri Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu ki. Harinam Sankirtan ki. Shastra Study Group ki. Brahma Bhakti Sangha and beyond ki. Hari 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 Bol. Maha Mantra ki.
Om Jnana Timirantasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gauda Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna. Haribo. How is everyone? Good.
Happy you're back.
Happy to be back. All right, let's start with reflections from what we heard last week. Anything you read or that we discussed, anything that stood out?
There's a lot of good comments.
Yeah, there's a lot of nice comments. Let's share them for the YouTube crowd, for those who weren't on the WhatsApp chat. Some of those nice comments.
I'll share.
Yeah.
So I had shared when I was reading chapter 83, which was each of the wives kind of telling their story of how they married Krishna to Queen Kunti. Just I don't know, thinking about it, from a material perspective, it doesn't make any sense at all, right? It's just like, all these women married to one person. It doesn't make any sense whatsoever. But when you really step back and understand everything that we've been reading, it seemed like a true description of what the mood of a devotee's heart should be. And which is, humble and not envious of each other. And then earlier today, I was listening to a lecture from Guru Maharaj, and he was talking about, working on your sadhana, making your sadhana very valuable, and how to do that. And one of the phrases that kept coming up was that the devotee should feel satisfied, humble, and unenvious. And it really connected to that chapter, because these wives all described how they got there, what they did, and they felt satisfied to be in Krishna's service. And even one of them just called herself a sweeper. I'm happy to just sweep the dust of Krishna's feet. And that's the connection that I made to that chapter.
Yeah, that humble mood of service.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. Yeah, many of them refer to like being like a maid or a servant or a sweeper, just that just like sincere desire to render service. Thank you. Any more reflections? I know we have more reflections. We're just working up the courage to share them.
Pam had a nice reflection.
I'll share mine. I reflect on chapter 84. For some reason, I just loved that Krishna was talking to the crowd, addressing the sages, and was just very blunt with them. And I could just kind of picture in my mind him talking and them just kind of like with their mouths open when he said, how do you say it? A person who accepts his material body as his own, who considers his family as his own, who accepts the material things as worshipable, or who visits holy places of pilgrimage just to take a bath there, but never associates with sages and Mahatmas. Such a person, though in the form of a human being, is nothing but an animal, like an ass. And I just thought, that's kind of a mic drop moment. I mean, if this is what you're doing, then you are nothing but like an animal, like an ass. And I thought, how many people do that? Go to places, when I was a kid, go to Catholic church, you see all the people there acting like sweet, holy families, but walk away and are not good people and don't walk the walk or talk the talk. They just kind of show up just for I don't know, for people to see or to kind of act like um, that they're trying to be holy. If you're not doing the work and not worshiping the center, then it really isn't anything. And that was kind of the first time in all this that I thought Krishna was just like very blunt and direct with people, and I could just kind of struck me as very admirable and like, all right, tell him, Krishna. I mean, so yeah, I thought it was a good point.
Yeah, it's a famous verse. It's actually Srimad Bhagavatam 10:84-13.
Oh, I didn't know that.
The verse that Prabhupada is paraphrasing there. And I'm going to read to you in a second. I just want to adjust the lighting on this because this is our introduction of the special lighting in the temple. So
Oh,
there's a little bit of light behind me. Can you all see me okay?
uh-huh.
Okay, good.
You're glowing. Do
It's a little hard to read because there's a glare coming off the laptop now.
you want me to turn it off?
If you can. Does that work? That'll help me
It
read.
won't look as nice, but yes. We can.
So 10:84-13. Yasya buddhi kunape trita tuke suti kalatra shubhama ijiti yatirti buddhi salidena kartiju jani shvipignesha sa eva gokara. One who identifies himself as the inert body composed of mucus, bile, and air, who assumes his wife and family are permanently his own, who thinks an earthen image or the land of his birth is worshipable, or who sees a place of pilgrimage as merely the water there, but who never identifies himself with, feels kinship with, worships, or even visits those who are wise in spiritual truth. Such a person is no better than a cow or an ass. Yeah. Nice purport there by the servants of Srila Prabhupada as well. 10:84-13, if you want to check it out. Yeah, it's a very straightforward instruction there by Krishna, for sure. Mic drop.
Lighting better for you.
I'll share some of what I shared, but it was similar to, I think, what Tanya was similar to like what you were sharing about. I kind of went chapter by chapter a little bit, but it was really just his, how he showed his love and his humility, and how and the pure devotion of is it Rajavasis? Like how we proved that Raj. I don't know how to say the name.
That
Raj.
sacrifice he held?
Yeah, shows the sweetness of Rajasis. So
The Rajavasis?
yes, Rajasis. Thank you.
Yeah, the residents of Vrindavan. That's what
Right.
that means. Yeah.
Oh, I thought it said Rajabasis. Okay, it
Yeah,
doesn't matter.
Rajavasis or Vrajavasis means the residents of Vrindavan.
So how their love and their devotion never fades no matter what happens. So it's kind of like a really nice, for me, I feel like it's like a nice thought just in my own life. Like it doesn't fade, like my love for my husband doesn't fade no matter what happens. We figure it out, we talk, we move, we go through, maybe even we get closer through the ups and the downs, right? And so that's how I kind of brought that to my own life. And then just talking
Yeah.
about his universal recognition and then the sincerity that when he, like what you were talking about, Tanya, with the queens, right? How he, how it makes no material sense at all. I didn't say that, but I was thinking the same thing. Like it makes no material sense, but in the way that in the book, in Krishna book, and even in some different things in the Bhagavatam, the way that they show love, compassion, devotion, the way that this, whether it's however the story shows, or it's called the rasa, right? Isn't that what it's called? So how the rasa shows it, it 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 really helps me as a material person, material body, right? Even though I know I'm not this body, but I'm living in the material world, like Allison was saying in her post for her was her Apple phone. But it just shows me like how I can be different and how things can be different and how we don't have to put ourselves in that box.
Mm.
And so I don't know, oftentimes I find lessons in a lot of these rasas. I learn. So
Yeah, that's very sweet. Yeah, I appreciate your point about like the steadiness of the love and service of the residents of Vrindavan is just that's why they go through what they go through because their love is so pure that we're all seeing like how even after Krishna leaves, they never stop. They never stop. Yeah. Eileen has her hand up.
Mine's really short, but throughout the Krishna book, we've been reading about all these like sacrifices, and so this last one, like the sacrificial ceremonies performed by Vasudev, like holy moly, these are like crazy elaborate, so much preparation, giving away of so much wealth and all of these austerities. And it's like so thankful that we have the holy name, and that we're, I'm just really grateful we're not out there having to do these elaborate, ceremonies and all these like things to transcend this life that, that Mahaprabhu gave us, chanting the holy name as our purification. So it's just, I guess I'm just grateful that, I have a lot of appreciation for a lot of the ritual and the sacrifice and etc. But man, I'm really happy that he made it really simple for us. And it also puts it in perspective that like sometimes it's really hard to do it. And it's like, but wait, this is so simple compared to what, have been done in other ages. So to just be really grateful that that's what, we've been given.
Yeah. Yeah, when we hear about deity worship and like elaborate fire sacrifices and the austerities of the sages and meditation and silence for a long time, it becomes a little easier to appreciate how easy actually the process has been made by Lord Chaitanya's mercy. Thank you. Yeah. And Prabhupada often goes out of his way in those points to mention when other forms of sacrifice are being undertaken that there is no sacrifice in this age that is recommended except for the Sankirtan Yajna. So that we don't get lost, oh, I should be doing that, and maybe it should be more of this. Like that's all, whatever is there of even like deity worship and different things, it's in support of the Nam Sankirtan, which is the primary, the motive efficacy of really for us to connect with the Supreme. Everything else is supported. We do a little meditation. We do occasionally have fire sacrifices. We have deity worship, but Yagyai Sankirtana Praya Yajanti Sumetasaha. The 11.5, I think 32, Bhagavatam talks about Lord Chaitanya, predicts his appearance, and he says he is worshipped Yagyai Sankirtana Praya, primarily, but not exclusively, but primarily through Nama Sankirtan Yagya. That's the main thing. We don't not do anything else, but that's the main thing we do. That's his whole main thing was part of his mission. Yeah, Shakti.
first of all, I just wanted to say that's so beautiful, Eileen. What a great like nugget to hold on to. That I for myself will continue to hold on to that because it's really because I'm in this material body, I can, even though Mahaprabhu and they say, chant Hare Krishna and be happy. But I'm like, I need to learn more Sanskrit. I need to learn more Sanskrit. I have to learn the Mridanga. Let me buy a Mridanga. I have to learn the Kirtan. I have to learn how to sing the Kirtan. Like, so even in that, the and I know Kashuri knows this because I have this whole thing about singing and kirtan and playing the harmonium, and so it's like I have quartels, I have a harmonium, I have the mridanga, and I'm like I'm gonna play one of them well. I'm gonna sing something well with one of those machines, and it's like so even in the the simplest of terms, a material person, the material mind makes me think like well, just sitting here and reading Krishna book isn't enough. I need to do more. I need to learn Sanskrit. I need to play kirtan. I need to do all these things. And it's like, no, I just need to love Krishna. I just need to love Krishna and take care of my deities and be a good person. And like you said, like Mahaprabhu made it so easy that I didn't get to chant this morning, but I sat here for 2 hours in the middle of the afternoon and chanted all my rads because I knew that that would calm my anxiety. like my anxiety started going, and so it's like I know it, but sometimes I don't know it. So thanks for reminding me.
Jai. All right, let's get to the Krishna book. Krishna 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 Hey Krishna 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 Hey Krishna 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 Rakshamam Krishna 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 Pahimam Rama Raghava Rama Raghava Rama Raghava Rakshamam Krishna Keshava Krishna Keshava Krishna Keshava Pahimam. Krishna book chapter 85. Spiritual instructions for Vasudeva and the return of the six dead sons of Devaki by Lord Krishna. Okay, so for the next few chapters, there's only six chapters left. For the next few chapters, what we're going to do is I'm not going to read every word because it's not possible to go through the whole Krishna book with the amount that we have left in the next two classes, because that's what we want to do, is finish. We've already had two full containers, this is a third. So I'm going to selectively, as I read, I'm going to selectively pick and choose, which I don't like to do out of love and appreciation for Srila Prabhupada, who wrote these, and they're all transcendental words. So this isn't me, deciding what's more or less important. It's just a matter of trying to condense what's already a condensed presentation into a little less for the sake of time. So if you're reading along, you may find that I'm doing that because I am. So I'm going to preface it by saying, please read everything in your own time. It won't take that long. Even chapter 87, which is really long, it's actually my favorite chapter in the whole Krishna book. I've read it like 7 times or something. It's like 150 pages or whatever, but you should totally read it, even though we won't live. Okay, Hare Krishna.
Do you need the book?
Do I need the book? No, you can have it. One day, after having returned from the sacrificial performances at Kurukshetra, when Lord Krishna and Balaram went to offer their respects to Vasudeva, Vasudeva took the opportunity to appreciate the exalted position of his sons. With firm faith in his sons, he addressed them. My dear Krishna, you are the Satchidananda Vigraha, Supreme Personality of Godhead. And my dear Balaram, you are Sankarshan, the master of all mystic powers. Therefore, I have now understood that you are eternal. You are the master of this cosmic manifestation, and actually this manifestation is created for your pastimes only. The different material phases that are manifest from the beginning to the end of the cosmos under different formulas of time are also yourself. You are both the cause and effect of this manifestation. The two features of this material world, the predominator and the predominated, are also you, and you are the supreme transcendental controller who stands above them. Therefore, you are beyond the perception of our senses. You are the supreme soul, unborn and unchanging. You're unaffected by the 6 kinds of transformations which occur in the material body. The vital force, the life principle in everything, and the creative force derived from it are not acting independently but are dependent on you, the supreme person behind these forces. Without your will, they cannot work. Material energy has no cognizance. It cannot act independently without being agitated by you. The original energy is only an emanation from you. My dear Lord, the shining of the moon, the heat of fire, the rays of the sun, the glittering of the stars, and the electric lightning, which are all manifested as very powerful, as well as the gravity of the mountains, and the energy and fragrance of the earth are all different manifestations of you. My dear Lord, although the forces of the senses, the mental power of thinking, feeling, and willing, and the strength, movement, and growth of the body appear to be performed by different movements of the airs within the body, they are all ultimately manifestations of your energy. The vast expanse of outer space rests in you. The vibration of the sky, its thunder, the supreme sound, Omkar, and the arrangement of different words to distinguish one thing from another are all symbolic representations of you. The senses, the controllers of the senses, and the acquisition of knowledge, which is the purpose of the senses, as well as the subject matter of all knowledge, all are you. The resolution of intelligence, the sharp memory of the living entity are also you. You are the egoistic principle of ignorance, which is the cause of this material world. The egoistic principle of passion, which is the cause of the senses, and the egoistic principle of goodness, which is the origin of the different controlling deities of the material world. The illusory energy, which is the cause of the conditioned soul's perpetual transmigration, is you. My dear Supreme Personality of Godhead, you're the original cause of all causes, exactly as the earth is the original cause of different kinds of trees, plants, and different varieties of manifestation. In the Bhagavad Gita, this fact is very nicely explained in the 9th chapter, wherein the Lord says, "In my impersonal form, I am spread all over the material energy. Everything is resting in me, but I am not there." This very statement is also given by Vasudeva. To say the Lord is not present everywhere means that he is aloof from everything, even though his energy is acting everywhere. This can be understood by a crude example. In a big establishment, the energy or the organization of the supreme boss is working in every nook and corner of the business, but that does not mean the original proprietor is present there. Although in every department, the presence of the proprietor is felt by the workers, the physical presence of the proprietor in every department is a formality only. Actually, his energy is working everywhere. Similarly, the omnipotence of the Supreme Personality of Godhead is felt in the action of his energies. Therefore, the philosophy of inconceivable, simultaneous oneness with and difference from the Supreme Lord is confirmed everywhere. The Lord is one, but his energies are diverse. Vasudeva said, "This material world is like a great flowing river, and its waves are the three material modes of nature: goodness, passion, and ignorance. This material body, as well as the senses, the faculties of thinking, feeling, and willing, and the stages of distress, happiness, attachment, and lust, are all different products of these three qualities of nature. The foolish person who cannot realize your transcendental identity above all these material reactions continues in the entanglement of fruitive activity and is subjected to the continuous process of birth and death without a chance of being freed." This is confirmed in a different way by the Lord in the 4th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. There it is said that anyone who knows the appearance and activities of the Supreme Lord Krishna is freed from the clutches of material nature and goes back home, back to Godhead. Therefore, Krishna's transcendental name, form, activities, and qualities are not products of this material nature. My dear Lord, Vasudeva continued, "Despite all these defects of the conditioned soul, if someone somehow or other comes in contact with devotional service, they achieve the civilized human form of body with developed consciousness and thereby become capable of executing further progress in devotional service. And yet, illusioned by the external energy, people generally do not utilize this advantage of the human form of life. Thus, they miss the chance of eternal freedom and unnecessarily spoil the progress they have made after thousands of births. In the bodily concept of life, due to false egotism, one is attached to the offspring of the body, and thus everyone in conditioned life is entrapped by false relationships and false affections. The whole world is moving under this false impression and suffering material bondage. I know that neither of you is my son. Both of you are the original chief and progenitor. But you have appeared on the surface of this globe to minimize the burden of the world by killing the Kshatriya kings who are unnecessarily increasing their military strength. You have already informed me about this in the past. My dear Lord, you are the shelter of the surrendered souls, the supreme well-wisher of the meek and humble. I am therefore taking shelter of your lotus feet, which alone can give one liberation from the entanglement of material existence. For a long time, I have simply considered this body to be myself, and although you are the Supreme Personality of Godhead, I have considered you my son. At the very moment when you first appeared in Kamsa's prison, you informed me that you were the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and you had descended for the protection of the principles of religion, as well as destruction of the unfaithful. Although unborn, you descend in every millennium to execute your mission. My dear Lord, as in the sky there are many forms, appearing and disappearing, you also appear in many eternal forms and then disappear. Who therefore can understand your pastimes, or the mystery of your appearance and disappearance? Our only business should be to glorify your supreme greatness." When Vasudeva was addressing his divine sons in that way, Lord Krishna and Balaram were smiling. Because they are very affectionate to their devotees, they accepted all the appreciation of Vasudeva with a kindly, smiling attitude. Krishna then confirmed, "My dear father, whatever you may say, we are after all your sons. What you have said about us is certainly a highly philosophical understanding of spiritual knowledge. I accept it in toto, without exception." Vasudeva was in the complete perfection of life, in considering Lord Krishna and Balaram to be his sons, but because the sages assembled in the place of pilgrimage had spoken about the Lord as the supreme cause of everything, Vasudeva simply repeated it out of his love for Krishna and Balaram. Lord Krishna did not wish to detract from his relationship with Vasudeva's father and son. Therefore, from the very beginning of his reply, he accepted the fact that he is the eternal son of Vasudeva, and Vasudeva is the eternal father of Krishna. After this, Lord Krishna informed his father of the spiritual identity of all living entities. He continued, "My dear father, everyone and everything, including me and my brother Balaram, as well as the inhabitants of the city of Dwarka, and the whole cosmic manifestation are exactly as you've already explained, but all of us are also qualitatively one." Lord Krishna intended for Vasudeva to see everything with the vision of a Mahabhagavat, a first-class devotee, who sees that all living entities are part and parcel of the Supreme Lord, and the Supreme Lord is situated in everyone's heart. The Lord Krishna then gave a nice example in terms of the 5 material elements. The total material elements, namely the sky, air, fire, water, and earth, are present in everything in the material world, whether in an earthen pot, or in a mountain, or in the trees, or in an earring. These 5 elements are present in everything, in different proportions and quantities. It is therefore confirmed in the Upanishads that Krishna, or the Supreme Lord, is the chief among all living entities, and that he maintains them and supplies them with all necessities of life. Anyone who knows this philosophy is in perfect knowledge. The Vedic version, Tat Tvam Asi, thou art the same, means not that everyone is God, but that everyone is qualitatively of the same nature as God. After hearing Krishna speak the entire philosophy of spiritual life in an abbreviated summation, Vasudeva was exceedingly pleased with his son. Being thus elated, he could not speak but remained silent. In the meantime, Devaki, the mother of Lord Krishna, sat by the side of her husband. Previously she had heard that Krishna and Balaram were so kind to their teacher that they had brought back the teacher's dead son from the clutches of the superintendent of death, Yamaraj. Since she had heard of this incident, she had also been thinking of her own sons who were killed by Kamsa, and while remembering them, she was overwhelmed with grief. Out of compassion for her dead sons, Devaki appealed to Lord Krishna and Balaram thus: My dear Balaram, your very name suggests you would give all pleasure and all strength to everyone. Your unlimited potency is beyond the reach of our minds and words. And dear Krishna, you're the master of all mystic yogis. I know that you are the master of the Prajapatis like Brahma and his assistants. And you are the original personality of Godhead, Narayana. I also know for certain that you have descended to annihilate all kinds of miscreants who have been misled in the course of time. They have lost control of their minds and senses, have fallen from the quality of goodness, and deliberately neglected the direction of the revealed scriptures by living a life of extravagance and impudence. You descended on the earth to minimize the burden of the world by killing such miscreant rulers. I have heard that when you wanted to reward your teacher, Sandipani Muni, he asked you to bring back his dead son. You and Balaram immediately brought him from the custody of Yamaraj, although he had been dead for a very long time. By this act, I understand you to be the supreme master of all mystic yogis. I therefore ask you to fulfill my desire in the same way. In other words, I'm asking you to bring back all my sons who were killed by Kamsa. Upon your bringing them back, my heart will be content, and it will be a great pleasure for me just to see them once. After hearing their mother speak in this way, Lord Balaram and Krishna immediately called for the assistance of Yogamaya and started for the lower planetary system known as Sutala. Formerly, in his incarnation of Vamana, the Supreme Personality of Godhead had been satisfied by the king of the demons, Bali Maharaj, who had donated to him everything he had. Bali was then given the whole of Sutala for his residence and kingdom. Now, when this great devotee, Bali Maharaj, saw that Lord Balaram and Krishna had come to his planet, he immediately merged in an ocean of happiness. As soon as he saw Lord Krishna and Balaram in his presence, he and all his family members stood up from their seats and bowed down at the lotus feet of the lords. Bali Maharaj offered Lord Krishna and Balaram the best seat he had in his possession, and when both lords were seated comfortably, he began to wash their lotus feet. He then sprinkled the water on his head and on the heads of his family members. The water used to wash the lotus feet of Krishna and Balaram can purify even the greatest demigods, such as Lord Brahma. After this, Bali Maharaj brought valuable garments, ornaments, sandalwood pulp, betel nuts, lamps, and various nectarian foods. And along with his family members, he worshipped the lords, according to the regulative principles, and offered his riches and body unto their lotus feet. King Bali was feeling such transcendental pleasure that he repeatedly grasped the Lord's lotus feet and kept them on his chest, and sometimes he put them on the top of his head. In this way he felt transcendental bliss. Tears of love and affection began to flow from his eyes, and all his bodily hair stood on end. He began to offer prayers to the Lord in a voice which was choked up intermittently. But dear Balaram, you are the original Anantadev. You are so great that Anantadev, Shesha, and other transcendental forms have originally emanated from you. And you, Lord Krishna, are the original personality of Godhead, with an eternal form that is all blissful and full of complete knowledge. You are the creator of the whole world. You are the original initiator and propounder of the systems of Jnana Yoga and Bhakti Yoga. You're the supreme Brahman, the original personality of Godhead. I therefore, with all respect, offer my obeisances unto both of you. It is very difficult for living entities to get to see you, yet when you are merciful upon them, upon your devotees, you are eager for them to see. You are easy for them to see. As such, only out of your causeless mercy have you agreed to come here and be visible to us, who are generally influenced by the qualities of ignorance and passion. My lord, we belong to the Daitya or demon category. The demons are demoniac persons, the Gandharvas, Siddhas, Vidyadharas, Chananas, Yakshas, Rakshas, Pishachas, the ghosts and hobgoblins, are by nature incapable of worshipping you or becoming your devotees. Instead of becoming your devotees, they are simply impediments in the path of devotion. But you're the Supreme Personality of Godhead, representing all the Vedas. Your position is always transcendental. For this reason, some of us, although born in the modes of passion and ignorance, have taken shelter of your lotus feet and have become devotees. Some of us are actually pure devotees, and some of us have taken shelter of your lotus feet because we desire to gain something from devotion. By your causeless mercy only are we demons in direct contact with your personality. This contact is not possible even for the great demigods. Even demigods cannot calculate the expanse of the activities of your internal potency. So how is it possible for us to know it? I therefore place my humble prayers before you. Please be kind to me, who am fully surrendered unto you, and favor me with your causeless mercy, so I may simply remember your lotus feet, birth after birth. My only ambition is that I may live alone, just like the Paramahamsas who travel alone here and there, in great peace of mind, depending simply on your lotus feet. I also desire that if I have to associate with anyone, I may associate only with your pure devotees and no one else, for your pure devotees are always well-wishers of all living entities. My dear Lord, you're the supreme master and director of the whole world. Please therefore engage me in your service and let me thus become free from all material contaminations. You can purify me in that way, because if someone engages themselves in the loving service of your lordship, they are immediately freed from all kinds of regulative principles enjoined in the Vedas. The word Paramahamsa mentioned here means the supreme swan. It is said that the swan can draw milk from a mixture of milk and water. It can take only the milk portion and reject the watery portion. Similarly, a person who can draw out the spiritual portion from this material world and who can live alone, depending only on the Supreme Spirit, not on the material world, is called the Paramahamsa. When one achieves the Paramahamsa platform, he is no longer under the regulative principles of the Vedic injunctions. A Paramahamsa accepts only the association of pure devotees and rejects others who are too much materially addicted. In other words, those who are materially addicted cannot understand the value of the Paramahamsa, but those who are fortunate, who are advanced in a spiritual sense, take shelter of the Paramahamsa and successfully complete the mission of human life. After Krishna heard the prayers of Bali Maharaj, he spoke as follows: My dear king of the demons, in the millennium of Swayambhuva Manu, the Prajapati known as Marichi begot 6 sons, all demigods, in the womb of his wife Urna. Once upon a time, Lord Brahma became captivated by the beauty of his daughter and was following her, impelled by sex desire. At that time, these 6 demigods looked at the action of Lord Brahma with abhorrence. This criticism of Brahma's action by the demigods constituted a great offense on their part, and for this reason, they were condemned to take birth as the sons of the demon Hiranyakashipu. These sons of Hiranyakashipu were thereafter put into the womb of Mother Devaki, and as soon as they took their birth, comes to kill them, one after another. My dear king of the demons, Mother Devaki is very anxious to see these 6 dead sons again, and she is very much aggrieved on account of their early death at the hand of Kamsa. I know that all of them are living with you. I have decided to take them with me to pacify my mother Devaki. After seeing my mother, all 6 of these conditioned souls will be liberated, and thus in great pleasure they'll be transferred to their original planet. The names of these 6 conditioned souls are as follows: Smara, Udgita, Parushvanga, Patanga, Kshudaprit, and Grani. They will be restated in their former position as demigods. Krishna stopped speaking and Bali Maharaj understood the Lord's purpose. He duly worshipped the Lord, and thereafter Krishna and Balaram took away the 6 conditioned souls and returned to the city of Dwarka, where Lord Krishna presented them as little babies before his mother Devaki. Mother Devaki was overwhelmed with joy and was so ecstatic and motherly feeling that milk immediately began to flow from her breasts, and she fed the babies with great satisfaction. She took them on her lap again and again, smelling their heads and thinking, I have gotten my lost children back. For the time being, she was overpowered by the energy of Vishnu, and in great motherly affection, she enjoyed the company of her lost children. The milk from the breast of Devaki was transcendental nectar because the same milk had been sucked by Lord Krishna. As such, the babies who sucked the breast of Devaki ji, which had touched the body of Lord Krishna, immediately became self-realized persons. The babies therefore began to offer their obeisances unto Lord Krishna, Balaram, their father Vasudeva, and their mother Devaki. After this, they were immediately transferred to their respective heavenly planets. After they departed, Devaki was stunned with wonder that her dead children had come back and had again been transferred to their respective planets. She could adjust the events only by thinking that Lord Krishna can perform anything wonderful in his pastimes, because his potencies are all inconceivable. By his unlimited potencies, he performs unlimited pastimes, and no one can describe them in full, nor can anyone know them all. Suta Goswami, speaking Srimad Bhagavatam before the sages of Naimisharanya, headed by Shaunaka Rishi, gave his verdict in this connection as follows. Great sages, please understand that the transcendental pastimes of Lord Krishna are all eternal. They are not ordinary narrations of historical incidents. Such narrations are identical with the Supreme Personality of Godhead himself. Anyone, therefore, who hears such narrations of the Lord's pastimes is immediately freed from the contamination of material existence. And those who are pure devotees enjoy these narrations as nectar entering into their ears. Such narrations were spoken by Shukadeva Goswami, the exalted son of Vyasadeva, and anyone who hears them, as well as anyone who repeats them from the hearing of others, becomes Krishna conscious. And only the Krishna conscious persons are eligible to go back home, back to Godhead. Krishna Book Ki Jai. All right. Any reflections, comments, or questions on that beautiful chapter?
One thing
Yes.
that,
Oh, go ahead. You first.
Tanya says go first.
oh, you're so kind, Tanya. The one thing that struck me early on in the chapter was the statement that the purpose of the senses is to acquire knowledge.
Hmm.
I was just thinking about how most of us in the world, and maybe until we found Krishna consciousness or yoga, right, thought, okay, the senses are for me to enjoy. And just
Yeah.
that statement of the purpose of the senses is to acquire knowledge. I think it's just powerful, and if we could understand that and not be so, it could help us to not be so controlled by the senses.
Yeah.
Just like in the Nectar of Instruction, the first verse, and the teaching around that.
Yeah. Technically, the way Prabhupada explains, there's 5 knowledge acquiring senses and 5 active senses. So they're divided that way, because like the senses as we conceive of them, like the eyes, the nose, sense of touch, tongue.
Genitals.
The 5 that we talk about in like the modern sight, sound, taste, smell, touch. Those are knowledge acquiring senses.
Okay.
They tell you about the world and so
Yeah.
forth. And the active senses, that's the hands, the legs, the genitals, and evacuation or something.
Okay.
And I forget the mind. Anyway, so it's a little bit of a shortcut what he's saying here. But yeah, the purpose of the senses is to actually be engaged.
Mhm.
And it's like this, like in the 11th canto. Yes, in the 11th canto, there's a discussion with the Hamsa avatar, an incarnation of the Lord, where I don't remember exactly who. I think it was either Brahma or the 4 Kumaras, or all of them. They're asking the Lord, how can the senses be? When can we ever detach our senses from matter?
Mm.
And there's a long philosophical discourse that follows, and the answer is basically you're asking the wrong question.
Mm.
The question isn't how can you detach your senses from matter? You can't, because that's what they're for. The entire universe has been created with senses and sense objects because they're perpetually meant to be connected to each other.
Mhm.
That's the point. That's not a problem. The problem is you think it's for you. The problem is you see your senses and the sense objects as separate from Krishna. That's the problem.
Mm.
And therefore, the question isn't how can I detach from the senses or the sense objects. The question is how can I see you in them?
Mhm.
Right? It would be that's the gist of that long philosophical discourse. I was reminded of that when you said that remembering in other words, you were saying that remembering the purpose of the senses was very helpful for you,
Yeah.
as it was for them, the Kumaras, Lord Brahma, because even the greatest yogis have difficulty extricating the senses from the sense objects. It's like you're sitting there chanting Hare Krishna and all this stuff just comes in. It's like that jingle from when I was 4 years old comes in, and the taste of the peanut butter sandwich I just ate and whatever. It's like It's always going to be there. There's
Mhm.
no mountain tall enough you can get away from all the sense objects. This is a world of sense objects because Krishna is the supreme controller and all of his energy comes from him. The point is to be able to be Krishna conscious so you can see everything as a manifestation of him.
Mhm.
So that's why we're calling out. He can give us his help to actually remember that, um, which is really important because it means that perfection is not a place of nothing. It's not a utopia.
Mhm.
Utopia is like in Greek, literally, it's from Greek. Utopia literally means no place or place of nothing, right? So the idea of utopia is like um, a voidness in a way. But that's not our philosophy. This same world can be an actual paradise if we see it as Krishna's energy. It's not that the world has to change; it's that we have to change. Anyway, I hope that it wasn't a digression, but
No.
I heard all that in your comment.
Oh, great. Yeah, I meant all of that. Thank you.
Tanya,
So 3 sessions ago, when we first started the Krishna book, um,
Mm.
we were collectively horrified at the baby killing, right? And I think all of us that
rightly
were
so,
in
on
the
some
beginning
level.
of this, yeah, we were
I
all
mean,
kind of like, wait,
it established that Kamsa was a real monster.
yeah, yeah. But so if I understood this correctly, of course, because Krishna knows everything from the past, everything in the present, and everything in the future, that the evil sons of Hiranyakashipu were actually the babies that were put in her womb to be killed by Kamsa. Did I
Yeah,
did I
there
read
was
that
an
right? I mean, was that what you said? That's what
yeah,
you read, right?
they had caused an offense to Lord Brahma, and because of that offense, they were forced to take birth as Hiranyakashipu's sons. And then they were then I forget what happened in that pastime, and then the next pastime they took birth as Devaki's first six sons before Balaram and Krishna.
Yeah.
Right. So that just kind of blew my mind because that was part of their punishment then because they were evil. They were born evil, yes. And then they were killed by Kamsa
Sort of. I
during
mean, even that birth of being under Hiranyakashipu's sons was in a context. The context was that they had previously been demigods who had offended Lord Brahma. Therefore, they fell temporarily from their position. So, yeah, in other words, like it didn't happen by accident.
right.
But I also would just hesitate to say that they were good or bad just because of one appearance or one birth. That's kind of one of the lessons in these um, reincarnation stories is that every as Oscar Wilde put it, every saint has a past and every sinner has a future. And because of that, it's difficult to trace out. But as you pointed out, Krishna knew.
Mhm.
And what's really special is that he gave his mercy to them because here they are seeing Devaki, who has
And
appeared
then
of
being liberated.
and being liberated by drinking her breast milk, which is prasad, because it's been already offered to Krishna. Our acharyas point out, as Prabhupada did, because it's been offered to Krishna, it's prasad. It's actually like special mercy, the remnants of Krishna's food from when he was a child many, many moons ago.
Yeah, I just found it, fascinating, kind of a cause and effect,
Yeah.
good versus evil. I'm not saying that they were, evil the whole time. Obviously they were good, then they weren't, and then now they're liberated again. It's just, the mastermind of the story from from the first few chapters to the end. It kind of tied it up in a nice little bow for me. So
Yeah.
thank you.
We didn't have any resolution. Like, how could this happen? Well, Krishna was in control the whole time. Jai. Thank you. Any other reflections or comments? Questions? Okay. Chapter 85. 85. Well, we just did 85. We're in 86 now. The kidnapping of Subhadra and Lord Krishna's visiting Shrutadev and Bahulashva.
Mhm.
Who was saying? Someone was saying. Eileen was saying they want to hear more about Subhadra. We don't hear enough about Subhadra. Here it is. Here's some Subhadra Leela. After hearing the incidents described in the last chapter, King Parikshit became more inquisitive to hear about Krishna and his pastimes, and he inquired from Shukadeva Goswami how his grandmother, Subhadra, was kidnapped by his grandfather, Arjuna, at the instigation of Lord Krishna. Right. So the family line is Arjuna and Subhadra, and then they have remind me, what was Uttara is Parikshit's mother, but his father was Abhimanyu. Abhimanyu, who died in the Battle of Kurukshetra. Thus, Shukadeva Goswami began to narrate the story as follows. Once upon a time, King Parikshit's grandfather, Arjuna, the great hero, was visiting several holy places of pilgrimage, and while thus traveling all over, he happened to come to Prabhas Kshetra. There, he heard the news that Lord Balaram was negotiating the marriage of Subhadra, the daughter of Arjuna's maternal uncle, Vasudeva. Although her father Vasudeva and her brother Krishna were not in agreement with him, Balaram was in favor of marrying Subhadra to Duryodhana. Arjuna, however, desired to gain Subhadra's hand himself. As he thought of Subhadra and her beauty, Arjuna became more and more captivated with the idea of marrying her, and with the plan in mind, he dressed himself like a Vaishnava sannyasi, carrying a tridanda in his hand. The Mayavadi sannyasis take one danda, or one rod, whereas the Vaishnava sannyasis take three dandas, or three rods. The three rods, tridanda, indicates that a Vaishnava sannyasi vows to render service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead with his body, mind, and words. The system of tridanda sannyas has been in existence for a long time, and the Vaishnava sannyasis are called tridandis, or sometimes tridandi swamis or tridandi goswamis. Sannyasis are generally meant to travel all over the country for preaching work, but during the 4 months of the rainy season in India, from July through October, they do not travel but take shelter in one place and remain there without moving. This non-movement of the sannyasi is called Chaturmasya Vrata. When a sannyasi stays in one place for these 4 months, the local inhabitants of that place take advantage of their presence to become spiritually advanced. Arjuna, in the dress of a Tridandi sannyasi, remained in the city of Dvarka for the 4 months of the rainy season, devising a plan where he could get Subhadra as his wife. None of the inhabitants of Dvarka, including Lord Balaram, could recognize the sannyasi to be Arjuna. Therefore, all of them offered their respects and obeisances to the sannyasi without knowing the actual situation. One day, Lord Balaram invited this particular sannyasi to lunch at his home. Balaramaji very respectfully offered him all kinds of palatable dishes, and the so-called sannyasi was eating sumptuously. While eating at the home of Balaramji, Arjuna was simply looking at beautiful Subhadra, who was very enchanting to great heroes and kings. Out of love for her, Arjuna's eyes brightened, and he looked at her with glittering eyes. Arjuna decided that, somehow or other, he would achieve Subhadra as his wife, and his mind became agitated on account of this strong desire. Arjuna, the grandfather of Maharaj Parikshit, was himself extraordinarily beautiful, and his bodily structure was very attractive to Subhadra, who decided within her mind that she would accept only Arjuna as her husband. As a simple girl, she was smiling with great pleasure looking at Arjuna. Thus, Arjuna also became more and more attracted by her. In this way, Subhadra dedicated herself to Arjuna, and he resolved to marry her by any means. He then became absorbed 24 hours a day in thought of how he could get Subhadra as his wife. He was afflicted with the thought of getting Subhadra and had not a moment's peace of mind. Once upon a time, Subhadra, seated on a chariot, came out of the palace fort to see the gods in the temple. Arjuna took this opportunity, and with the permission of Vasudeva and Devaki, he kidnapped her. After getting on Subhadra's chariot, he prepared himself for a fight. Taking up his bow and holding off with his arrows the soldiers ordered to check him, Arjuna took Subhadra away. While Subhadra was thus being kidnapped by Arjuna, her relatives and family members began to cry. But still he took her, just as the lion takes his prey and departs. When it was disclosed to Lord Balaram that the so-called sannyasi was Arjuna, who had planned such a device simply to take away Subhadra, and that he had actually taken her, he became very angry. Just as the waves of the ocean become agitated on a full moon day, Lord Balaram became greatly disturbed. Lord Krishna was in favor of Arjuna. Therefore, along with other members of the family, he tried to pacify Balaram by falling at his feet and begging him to pardon Arjuna. Krishna convinced Lord Balaram that Subhadra was attached to Arjuna, and thus Balaram became pleased to know that she wanted Arjuna as her husband. The matter was settled, and to please the newly married couple, Lord Balaram arranged to send a dowry consisting of an abundance of riches, including elephants, chariots, horses, men servants, and maidservants. Maharaj Parikshit was very eager to hear more about Krishna, and so, after finishing the narration of Arjuna's kidnapping Subhadra, Shukadeva Goswami began to narrate another story, as follows. There was a householder Brahmin in the city of Mithila, the capital of the kingdom of Videha. This Brahmin, whose name was Shrutadeva, was a great devotee of Lord Krishna. Because he was fully Krishna conscious and always engaged in the service of the Lord, he was completely peaceful in mind and detached from all material attraction. He was very learned and had no desire other than to be fully situated in Krishna consciousness. Although in the order of household life, he never took great pains to earn anything for his livelihood. He was satisfied with whatever he could achieve without much endeavor, and somehow or other he lived in that way. Every day he would get the necessities of life in just the quantity required and not more. That was his destiny. The Brahmana had no desire to get more than what he needed, and thus he was peacefully executing the regulative principles of a Brahman's life, as enjoined in the revealed scriptures. Fortunately, the king of Mithila was as good a devotee as the Brahmana. The name of this famous king was Bahulashva. He was very well established in his reputation as a good king, and he was not at all ambitious to extend his kingdom for the sake of sense gratification. As such, both the Brahmana and King Bahulashva remained pure devotees of Lord Krishna in Mithila. Since Lord Krishna was very merciful toward these two devotees, King Bahulashva and the Brahman Shrutadev, he one day asked his driver, Dwaraka, to take his chariot into the capital city Mithila. Lord Krishna was accompanied by the great sages Narada, Vamadev, Atri, Vyasadeva, Parshuram, Asita, Adurni, Shukadev, Brihaspati, Kanava, Maitreya, Chavana, and others. Lord Krishna and the sages passed through many villages and towns, and everywhere the citizens would receive them with great respect and offer them articles of worship. To the citizens who came to see the Lord and all the assembled sages, it seemed as though the sun were present along with his various satellite planets. Thus, all the citizens of these places, both men and women, could see Lord Krishna face to face. In this way, they enjoyed celestial happiness, with open hearts full of love and affection for the Lord. And when they saw the face of the Lord, it seemed to them that they were drinking nectar through their eyes. When they saw Krishna, all the ignorant misconceptions of their lives dissipated. When the Lord passed through the various countries and the people came to visit him, simply by glancing over them, the Lord would bestow all good fortune upon them and liberate them from all kinds of ignorance. In some places, the demigods would join with the human beings, and their glorification of the Lord would cleanse all directions of inauspicious things. In this way, Lord Krishna gradually reached the kingdom of Videha. When the citizens received the news of the Lord's arrival, they all felt unlimited happiness and came to welcome him, taking gifts in their hand to offer. As soon as they saw Lord Krishna, their hearts immediately blossomed in transcendental bliss, just like lotus flowers upon the rising of the sun. Previously, they'd simply heard the names of the great sages, but had never seen them. Now, by the mercy of Lord Krishna, they had the opportunity of seeing both the great sages and the Lord himself. King Bahulashva and the Brahmana Shrutadeva, knowing well that the Lord had come there just to grace them with favor, immediately fell at the Lord's lotus feet and offered their respects. With folded hands, the king and the Brahmana each simultaneously invited Lord Krishna and all the sages to his home. To please both of them, Lord Krishna expanded himself into two and went to the houses of each one of them. Yet neither the king nor the Brahmana could understand that the Lord had gone to the house of the other. Both thought that the Lord had gone only to his own house, that he and his companions were present in both houses, although both the Brahmana and the king thought he was present in one house only, is another opulence of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This opulence is described in the revealed scriptures as Vaibhava Prakash. When Lord Krishna married 16,000 wives, he expanded himself into 16,000 forms, each one of them as powerful as he himself. Similarly, in Vrindavan, when Brahma stole Krishna's calves and cowherd boys, Krishna expanded himself into many new calves and boys. Bahulashva, the king of Videha, was very intelligent and was a perfect gentleman. He was astonished that so many great sages, along with the Supreme Personality of Godhead, were personally present in his home. He knew perfectly well that conditioned souls engaged in worldly affairs cannot be 100% pure, whereas the Supreme Lord and his pure devotees are always transcendental to contamination. Therefore, when Krishna and all the great sages were at his home, he felt astonished, and he began to thank Lord Krishna for his causeless mercy. Feeling very much obliged, and wanting to receive his guests to the best of his ability, he called for nice chairs and cushions, and Lord Krishna, along with all the sages, sat down very comfortably. At that time, King Bahulashva's mind was very restless, not because of any problems, but because of great ecstasy of love and devotion. His heart was filled with love and affection for the Lord and his associates, and his eyes were filled with tears of ecstasy. He washed the feet of his divine guests, and afterward, he and his family members sprinkled the water on their own heads. After this, he offered the guests nice flower garlands, sandalwood pulp, incense, new garments, ornaments, lambs, cows, and bulls. In a manner just befitting his royal position, he worshipped each one of them in this way. When they had all been fed sumptuously and were sitting very comfortably, Bahulasha came before Lord Krishna and caught his lotus feet. He placed them on his lap, and while massaging the feet with his hands, began to speak about the glories of the Lord in a sweet voice. My dear Lord, you are the super soul of all living entities, and as the witness within the heart, you are cognizant of everyone's activities. Thus, we are duty-bound to always think of your lotus feet so we can remain in a secure position and not deviate from your eternal service. As a result of our continuous remembrance of your lotus feet, you have kindly visited my place personally to favor me with your causeless mercy. We have heard, my dear Lord, that by your various statements you confirm your pure devotees to be more dear to you than Lord Balaram, or your constant servitor, the goddess of fortune. Your devotees are dearer to you than your first son, Lord Brahma, and I am sure that you have so kindly visited my place to prove your divine statement. I cannot imagine how people can be so godless and demoniac, even after knowing of your causeless mercy and affection for your devotees, who are constantly engaged in Krishna consciousness. How can people who know these things forget your lotus feet? My dear Lord, it is known to us that you are so kind and liberal that when a person leaves everything just to engage in Krishna consciousness, you sometimes give yourself in exchange for that unalloyed service. You have appeared in the Yadu dynasty to fulfill your mission of reclaiming all conditioned souls, rotting in the sinful activities of material existence, and this appearance is already famous all over the world. Kindly therefore accept my humble obeisances at your lotus feet. My Lord, I beg to request you and your companions to remain in my place at least for a few days, so that this family of the famous King Nimi may be sanctified by the dust of your lotus feet. Lord Krishna could not refuse the request of his devotee, and thus he remained there for a few days with the sages to sanctify the city of Mithila and all its citizens. Meanwhile, the Brahmana Shrutadeva, simultaneously receiving Lord Krishna and his associates at his home, was transcendently overwhelmed with joy. After offering his guests nice sitting places, the Brahmana began to dance, waving around his wrap. Shrutadeva, being not at all rich, offered only mattresses, wooden planks, straw carpets, and so on to his distinguished guests, Lord Krishna and the sages, but he welcomed them to the best of his ability. He spoke very highly of the Lord and the sages, and he and his wife washed the feet of each one of them. After this, he took the water and sprinkled it over all the members of his family. And although the Brahman appeared very poor, he was at that time most fortunate. While Shrutadeva was welcoming Lord Krishna and his associates, he simply forgot himself in transcendental joy. After welcoming the Lord and his companions, according to his ability, he brought fruits, incense, scented water, scented clay, tulsi leaves, kusha straw, and lotus flowers. They were not costly items and could be secured very easily, but because they were offered with devotional love, Lord Krishna and his associates accepted them gladly. The Brahmana's wife cooked simple foods like rice and dal, and Lord Krishna and his followers were very pleased to accept them because they were offered in devotional love. When Lord Krishna and his associates were fed in that way, the Brahmana Shrutadeva was thinking thus: I have fallen into the deep, dark well of householder life and am the most unfortunate person. How has it become possible that Lord Krishna and his associates, the great sages, whose very presence makes a place as sanctified as a pilgrimage site, have agreed to come to my place? While thinking this way, the guests finished their lunch and sat back very comfortably. At that time, the Brahmana Shrutadeva and his wife, children, and other relatives appeared there to render service to the distinguished guests. While touching the lotus feet of Lord Krishna, the Brahmin began to speak. My dear Lord, you're the Supreme Person, transcendently situated beyond the manifested and unmanifested material creation. We can appreciate that not only today have you given me your audience, but you're associating with all the living entities as Paramatma since the beginning of creation. This statement by the Brahmin is very instructive. It is a fact that the Supreme Lord, the personality of Godhead, in his Paramatma feature, enters the creation of this material world as Mahavishnu, Garbhodakshay Vishnu, and Kshodakshay Vishnu, and in a very friendly attitude, the Lord sits along with the conditioned soul in the body. Therefore, every living entity has the Lord with him from the very beginning, but due to his mistaken consciousness of life, the living entity cannot understand this. When his consciousness, however, is changed into Krishna consciousness, he can immediately understand how Krishna is trying to assist the conditioned souls to get out of the material entanglement. Shukadev continued, My dear Lord, you've entered this material world as if sleeping. A conditioned soul, while sleeping, creates false or temporary worlds in their mind. Similarly, your lordship, apparently also in a sleeping condition, enters this material world to create a temporary manifestation, not for your personal necessities, but for the conditioned soul who wants to imitate your lordship as enjoyer. The conditioned soul's enjoyment in the material world is temporary and illusory, and yet the conditioned soul is by himself unable to create such a temporary situation for his illusory enjoyment. To fulfill his desires, although they are temporary and illusory, you enter this temporary manifestation to help him. Thus, from the beginning of the conditioned souls entering into the material world, you are his constant companion. When therefore the conditioned soul comes in contact with the pure devotee and takes to devotional service, beginning with the process of hearing your transcendental pastimes, glorifying your transcendental activities, worshipping your eternal form in the temple, offering prayers to you, and engaging in discussion to understand your position, he gradually becomes freed from the contamination of material existence. And as his heart becomes cleansed of all material dust, you gradually become visible there. Although you are constantly with the conditioned soul, only when they become purified by devotional service do you become revealed to him. Others who are bewildered by fruitive activities, either by Vedic injunctions or by customary dealings, and who do not take to devotional service, are captivated by the external happiness of the bodily concept of life. You are not revealed to such persons. Rather, you remain far, far away from them. But for one who engages in your devotional service and purifies their heart by constant chanting of your holy name, you are very easily understood as his eternal companion. It is said that your lordship, sitting in the heart of a devotee, gives them direction by which they can very quickly come back home, back to you. This direct dictation by you reveals your existence within the heart of the devotee. Only a devotee can immediately appreciate your existence within his heart, whereas for a person who has only a bodily concept of life and is engaged in sense gratification, you always remain covered by the curtain of Yoga Maya. Such a person cannot realize that you are very near, sitting within their heart. For a non-devotee, you are appreciated only as ultimate death. The difference is like the difference between a cat carrying its kittens in its mouth and carrying a rat in its mouth. In the mouth of the cat, the rat feels its death, whereas the kitten in the mouth of the cat feels motherly affection. Similarly, you're present to everyone, but the non-devotee feels you as ultimate cruel death, whereas for a devotee, you're the supreme instructor and philosopher. The atheist, however, understands the presence of God as death, but the devotee understands the presence of God always within their heart, takes dictation from you, and lives transcendently, unaffected by the contamination of the material world. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, is naturally very much affectionately inclined to his devotees. When he heard Shrutadev's prayers of pure devotion, he was very pleased and immediately caught his hands and addressed him thus: "My dear Shrutadeva, all these great sages, Brahmins, and saintly persons have been very kind to you by personally coming here to see you. You should consider this opportunity to be a great fortune for you. They are so kind that they are traveling with me, and wherever they go, they immediately make the whole atmosphere as pure as transcendence, simply by the touch of the dust of their feet. People are accustomed to go to the temples of God. They also visit holy places of pilgrimage, and after prolonged association with such activities, for many days, by touch and by worship, they gradually become purified. But the influence of great sages and saintly persons is so great that by seeing them one immediately becomes completely purified. Moreover, the very purifying potency of pilgrimages or worship of different demigods is also achieved by the grace of saintly persons. My dear Shrutadeva, when a person is born as a Brahmin, he immediately becomes the best of all human beings. And if such a Brahmin, remaining self-satisfied, practices austerities, studies the Vedas, and engages in my devotional service, as is the duty of the Brahmin, or in other words, if a Brahmin becomes a Vaishnava, how wonderful is his greatness! My feature of four-headed Narayana is not so pleasing or dear to me as is a Brahmin Vaishnava. Brahmana means one well conversant with Vedic knowledge. A Brahmana is the insignia of perfect knowledge, and I am the full-fledged manifestation of all gods. Less intelligent men do not understand me, nor do they understand the influence of the Brahmana Vaishnava. They are influenced by the three modes of material nature and thus dare to criticize me and my pure devotee. A Brahmana Vaishnava or devotee already on the Brahminical platform can realize me in their heart. Therefore, they definitely conclude that the whole cosmic manifestation and its different features are effects of different energies of the Lord. Thus, they have a clear conception of the whole material nature and the total material energy, and in every action, such a devotee sees me only and nothing else. My dear Shrutadeva, you may therefore accept all these great saintly persons, brahmanas and sages, as my bona fide representatives. By worshipping them faithfully, you will be worshipping me more diligently. I consider worship of my devotees to be better than direct worship of me. If someone attempts to worship me directly, without worshipping my devotees, I do not accept such worship, even though it may be presented with great opulence. In this way, both the Brahmana Shrutadeva and the king of Mithila, under the direction of the Lord, worship both Krishna and his followers, the great sages and saintly Brahmins, on an equal level of spiritual importance. Both Brahmana and king ultimately achieve the supreme goal of being transferred to the spiritual world. The devotee does not know anyone except Lord Krishna, and Krishna is most affectionate to his devotee. Lord Krishna remained in Mithila both at the house of the Brahmin Shrutadev and at the palace of King Bahulashva. And after favoring them lavishly by his transcendental instructions, he went back to his capital city, Dvarka. The instruction we receive from this incident is that King Bahulashva and Shrutadev the Brahmin were accepted by the Lord on the same level because both were pure devotees. This is the real qualification for being recognized by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Because it has become the fashion of this age to be falsely proud of having taken birth in the family of a Kshatriya or a Brahmin, we see persons without any qualification other than birth, claiming to be a Brahmin, or Kshatriya, or Vaishya. But as stated in the scriptures, Kalau Shudra Sambhava, in this age of Kali, everyone is born a Shudra. This is because there is no performance of the purificatory processes known as samskaras, which begin from the time of the mother's pregnancy and continue up to the point of the individual's death. No one can be classified as a member of a particular caste, especially of a higher caste, Brahmana, Kshatriya, or Vaishya, simply by birthright. If one is not purified by the process of the seed-giving ceremony, or Garbhadana Samskara, he is immediately classified amongst the Shudras because only the Shudras do not undergo this purificatory process. Sex life without the purificatory process of Krishna consciousness is merely the seed-giving process of the Shudras, or the animals. Krishna consciousness is therefore the best process of purification. By this process, everyone can come to the platform of a Vaishnava, which includes having all the qualifications of a Brahmana. The Vaishnavas are trained to become freed from the four kinds of sinful activities: illicit sex, indulgence in intoxicants, gambling, and eating animal foods. One cannot be on the Brahminical platform without having these preliminary qualifications, and without becoming a qualified Brahmana, one cannot become a pure devotee. Thus ends the Bhaktivedanta purport of the 86th chapter of Krishna, the kidnapping of Subhadra, and Lord Krishna's visiting Shrutadev and Bahulashva. Jai Shri Krishna Book Ki Jai. All right. Reflections, questions, and comments on anything you heard.
Question.
Yeah.
I thought it was on page 655, and now I'm not seeing which page, or maybe it's 665. Yeah, there was mention of Maharaj Parikshit and how Sukadev Goswami was telling him another story.
Yeah.
Does that happen often from throughout the Bhagavatam? Like, I mean, the whole Bhagavatam is the narration to Maharaj Parikshit when he has 7 days to live, right? But I don't recall like that many times, or maybe I'm just missing it right now, or I have missed it. But or at least in the summary of this Krishna book too, like we don't hear that a lot. It's like all of a sudden it just brought me right back into the context of like everything that we're reading right now is being recounted to Maharaj Parikshit, who has 7 days left to live, and he's asking these questions. So everything that's being shared is in response to his questions.
Yeah.
And like just that was on page 665, where it was Maharaj Parikshit was very eager to hear more about Krishna, and so after finishing the narration of Arjuna's kidnapping Subhadra, Sukadeva Goswami began to narrate another story. So it just like whoom, like brought it all back to that.
It actually happens a lot. If you look for it, you'll see it again.
Okay.
It happens in the next chapter a bunch because the next chapter begins with I'll summarize it because we're not going to read it all, but it's like it gives a description of how Maharaj Parikshit's original question at the beginning of the chapter has been asked before. And when it was asked before, it was referenced by that conversation as having been asked before that. And it's like a story within the story within the story. And cutting back, in other words, from the story to the discussion between Parikshit and Shukadev happens a lot, as does cutting to Suta Goswami and the sages of Namisharanya.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I think perhaps when I'm reading the Bhagavatam, I'm not necessarily reading all of the purports and maybe it's explained. I don't know. I just feel like I've missed some of those
Well, it's
pieces.
also like a living document. You may just be more appreciating that moment, that in this moment that's part of the nature of what's happening is that,
Right.
oh wow, like, oh, I had forgotten. Like, yeah, this is all really cool and stuff, but it's actually just all happening in the course of the conversation.
Right.
But also one thing to take away is that when you talk about, Arjuna's kidnapping Subhadra, for example, in a very real way, you are with Arjuna kidnapping Subhadra.
Yeah.
You're not in wherever you are.
Right.
So there is a way in which when we hear that, or when Parikshit heard it, he's there.
Mhm.
So it becomes irrelevant in a sense what their actual context is.
Right.
So it's natural and it works more to be jumping back and forth. Whereas as a literary device, it's not recommended to do that all the time because it's kind of disorienting.
Right.
But what's connecting the devotees is the same thing at every time and place point, is that they're hearing the sound vibration of Krishna and his devotees and their pastimes together. And that is immersing them in the flow of the internal energy of the Lord and what's happening, the rasa that's being exchanged there between Krishna and his devotees. And they become transcendental to their. I mean, Parikshit's fasting for 7 days. He even says, like, in the course of the conversation, at some point he says, actually, it's the beginning of the 10th canto, he says, I'm so satisfied by what you're saying, the nectar that's coming from your mouth. I don't even realize that I haven't even eaten. Or at that point, it's like, if you line up the whole Bhagavatam, Canto 10 is like 70% of the way through.
Mm-hmm.
He's been fasting for 5 days or something. No drink, nothing but hearing and occasionally asking. No food, nothing. But he's like, I don't know how this is possible. This is like such a magical experience. So, yeah, you can take that as part of a commentary on what you're saying too, is that it's like, yeah, Parikshit's hearing and so are we.
Right.
We're all getting sucked into that. Leela.
Mm-hmm.
And how many generations after this moment will continue doing that? I mean, it's eternally going to keep happening. Devotees are going to keep taking shelter of this vibration and have taken shelter of it.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yeah, it's mind blowing. Yeah, and how Arjuna's Parikshit's grandfather.
yeah.
There's just so many layers of
Yeah, that's because
mind-blowing.
yeah, that's very special for Parikshit, is that he's very close to the events actually happening.
Yeah,
Arjuna is actually his own family.
right.
Yeah. The whole story of his life is that he was born always looking for Krishna because he experienced in the womb. Because Ashvatthama sent a mantra weapon, something like a nuclear device, a controlled nuclear strike to kill him and exactly him, because he was the last descendant. And Ashwatthama was like a sworn enemy. He was from the people who had lost the battle at the battlefield of Kurukshetra. He was on the losing side of the Kauravas. And Krishna entered the womb of Uttara, Parikshit's mom, and saved Parikshit. And Parikshit saw him. And that's why his name is Parikshit, one who was always looking, because he always remembered that. And so he's like always been looking for Krishna. And now after a full life, he had this curse happen, he's fasting to death, but he's hearing all about Krishna and he's actually experiencing him. And it's like helping him to connect with his family too. But they're also our family. I mean, these are our devotees. Everyone should have a relationship with Arjuna. I highly recommend it. He's a great person. Reading Bhagavad Gita makes you feel connected to him, even if it's not blood connection. It's the real connection is the connection of devotional service. So these are our family members. We're all like connected to the gopis and Vrindavan, and we get to be if we want to be. Jai. More comments or questions on anything you heard today? Because I think we're almost at that time. I think what we're going to have to do is that I'm going to just summarize chapter 87 somehow at the beginning of the next class. Um, I I will humbly request that everybody read that chapter. How many pages is it?
It's like 60, guys. But
I think it's more than that.
It's 674 to
Maybe it's done this week.
789 to 874.
Okay, so it's like 85, 86 pages.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So.
Less than 100 pages. It'll take a little bit. That's like 4 or 5 times the size of a good sized chapter.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, 674 to 744.
and like 7 or 8 times the size of a regular sized chapter. But it's amazing. And I'm gonna refamiliarize myself with the contents and the flow of the conversation and summarize it for all of you next week. But we're not gonna read through it. And then I'm gonna speed read through 88, 89, and 90 in a summary form as well. So I'll need Krishna's help. There's no other
you're gonna
no bones about it. I'm gonna need help.
To do that.
And then we're gonna have time for reflections somehow on the whole Krishna book. So Krishna's gonna have to expand time like he did for the gopis and everyone. Any more reflections, questions, and comments on anything you heard today? I really feel like today's reading flew by.
It did.
More than usual.
I agree. To read this again. It definitely did.
Maybe because I had to cut through so many things.
Maybe.
But I was like shocked that we ended at the time.
Mm-hmm. Me too.
Hare Krishna. Okay. So for homework, you can all read ahead. Read chapter 87. And start really actually the main thing I want you to do is to just start finding reflections on your experience with the Krishna book in general, because we want to have some of that. We won't have time for all of them next week, but I want to hear them all in WhatsApp, and you can tell me in person, and you can write them in your journal and write them in your heart and put them in a little treasure chest, because they're the pearls you get to keep from this whole experience. Is like the little gems you have of realization and spiritual desires and nuggets that stick with you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Shri Krishna book ki jai. Now let's offer our respectful obeisances unto all the Vaishnava devotees of the Lord, who are just like desire trees, can fulfill the desires of everyone, and are full of compassion for all the fallen conditioned souls. Vanchakalpatarubhyascha kripasindhubhyeva cha paditanam pavanebhyo Vaishnavibhyo namo namaha. Just like Krishna advised his devotees, don't just worship me, worship my devotees. We're doing the same thing. Hare Krishna.
Monday, the reading of the Bhagavad Gita. December 1st. Monday.
Yes.
Oh.
And Monday, December the 1st, that's Mokshada Ekadashi, right? That's the Ekadashi day on which Bhagavad Gita was spoken. That's the anniversary. And we're going to have a reading of the whole Bhagavad Gita, as we try to do every year. And it's highly doable. It takes like 2.5 hours.
Yeah, I think we said 6 to 8:30 or 6:30 to 8, but something like that.
And every year my mind is like, oh, you can't be serious, bro.
Mm-hmm.
And every year I do it. And every year I'm like, why didn't I do this yesterday? Why don't I do this tomorrow? It's so great. It's really amazing.
Yeah. And we read in person and online, and everybody's that's there reads a chapter.
What date?
If you want.
Yeah.
What was the date?
Monday.
This coming Monday. December 1st.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, 6 to 8?
Is it 6 to 8?
I can't remember off the top of my head. It's in the WhatsApp. It's in the Bhakti House WhatsApp group. It is from 6 to 8:30.
Yeah, starting at 6.
Yeah.
And if you can for part of it, it's a really amazing experience. You will develop a deeper relationship with the Bhagavad Gita, or your money back for this free.
Now I have to get my classes covered.
There we go.
Okay. Hare Krishna. See you all soon.